Welcome to Invisible No More podcast, where we stand together as a beacon of hope for those who have served our country and faced unimaginable challenges. I am Shannon Hough, your guide through stories of strength, resilience, and healing. Our mission to empower women who have faced sexual assault in the military, find their voice, reclaim their power, and rebuild their lives. Join us as we share journeys of triumph over trauma, offer support, and shine a light on the path to restoration. Together, we are a shield of sisters. Thank you for joining us at Shield of Sisters Invisible No More podcast. We are at episode 10. My name is Shannon Hough, and we're with Lisa Carrington-Firmin today. And Lisa is going to join us at our conference in January. And so, Lisa, thank you for joining me today, for agreeing to be part of our conference. Why don't you give us a little bit about your background and your military service and what you've done so far in the MST?
Sure. Well, I'm a retired Air Force colonel, combat veteran, served in Iraq in 2004. And in 2020, I finally spoke up about military sexual trauma, my own experiences. And then after speaking up late 2020, in 2021, I decided to write a book. It started with first an opinion piece that was actually published on Veterans Day in 2020. And the piece was titled something like Women Protecting Their Country, but the Military is Failing to Protect Them, something like that. So you kind of get the drift there. And so I was talking about military sexual trauma and how this has continued for years. And this is an issue we really need to get a handle on. I was very disappointed and angry after the death of the horrific murder of Vanessa Bean at Fort Hood, then what was called Fort Hood, now Fort Crossing. So that was late 2020. After that, it got picked up by Military Times. They put it online, and then people just started contacting me, telling me their story. Some of the people who contacted me, Shannon, were people who had never spoken publicly about their experiences. I guess they saw that when I spoke up for the first time, that they felt maybe emboldened or felt like it was okay to speak up too. So because of the response I got to that opinion piece, that op-ed, I decided to write a book about military sexual trauma. And of course, I happen to have a copy of it right here. So this book is called Stories from the Front, Pain, Betrayal, and Resilience on the MST Battlefield. Because I really felt that's exactly what it is. It's a battlefield. And it's a battlefield that we don't talk enough about and we don't educate enough about. So my mission has been to, since this book had been published in 2022, has been to, and also it's an award-winning book by the Military Writers Society of America. So I'm really proud because all these folks allowed me, trusted me to tell their stories. So there's 14 stories in the book, ranging from the Vietnam era to present day. You can see maybe here is a silhouette. And I didn't use the person's real pictures because these are representing two people in the book. They're active duty still. So I wanted to protect their identities. So the book, like I said, spanned 50 years. Yeah. Every branch of service is represented. It was important for me to show this, that MST does not discriminate. It impacts and affects anybody and everybody. And the book clearly showed that with all the 14 stories, kind of diverse stories, diverse individuals. It doesn't matter what your race is, what your ethnicity, what your sexual orientation is, what your gender is. There's a male in the book as well. And that's important too, because it happens to men as well. So that's kind of how I got started on this path to speak up and to make a difference after so many years of not speaking.
Well, thank you for using your voice. I know it is not always easy to speak up. And that's something we talk about at Shield of Sisters, is just how important it is to use your voice. And matter of fact, everyone that comes to the conference is getting a copy of your book. We're excited about that. We're also excited that we're going to give you an award as a pioneer for military sexual trauma, because you have just been really instrumental in helping survivors share their story and get more notice out there. So I talked to the artist a couple days ago. I'm so excited to be able to, present this to you, but then for it to go on and have you present it to other
Yeah, I am.
other people down the road. So it's definitely going to be an annual thing when we get this conference going. So you're coming to the conference and you're doing several sessions. One is a poetry reading with Christina.
Yeah,
If you could talk a little bit about that and
the
what
poetry
that's
will
going to
come from
entail.
this book. I feel like Vanna White or something. With visual aids, right? This is called Latina Warrior, and this is my latest book. And it is a collaboration with an outstanding fellow combat veteran woman artist. And she illustrated all the poems that are in the book. And the book is basically an autobiography told through poems, prose, and art. So what we're going to do is I'm going to speak about this book. We're going to read poetry from the book and talk a little bit how we collaborated. Because these are two women combat vets who are, let me just kind of show our similarities, right? We both serve, we both were in combat, we both have Bronze Stars. We both have been sexually assaulted. We both have PTSD. We both are divorced, and we both have children. So we had so much in common. So as I was writing my story, it resonated with her because it really was her story too. And I think the attendees for the conference are going to really relate because it's their story too. It's everyone's story who's experienced what I've experienced, what we've experienced, you and I, Shannon. And we're not proud to be part of this group, right? But it happened to us.
No, it's not a group we want to be part of.
But it happened to us. And that book, the Latina Warrior book, writing those poems, I wrote about my early life as a Latina growing up and my family and that kind of thing, and has Spanglish, Spanish, and English in it. And then I went and talked about the military and then the darker stuff about sexual assault, harassment, PTSD, combat, all that. And then the healing journey I was on. So the book is kind of like the whole journey. It's almost like showing the post-traumatic growth as well. But what Christina and I, the artist, she's a retired Army Major, Christina Helfrich-Poloski, what we learned as we partnered on this book was, wow, how empowering it became for us to talk, us to get it out in our artistic expressions, me through writing, her through creating original art for every poem. It blew us away how empowering it was, how much stronger we became. So we are real fans of using art as therapy and using the written word to help us heal and of the collaboration. So we're going to do a session. You're right. We're going to do a poetry reading session. But I will read a poem and then she'll talk about how she interpreted that poem and created whatever art piece she did. And she's a diverse artist, multimedia artist. So her art is quite unique. And it's really kind of cool because, everybody interprets art different ways, right? So it's cool to see how she interpreted what I wrote and what resonated with her. And then as we go around and talk throughout the country about that book, individuals come up to us and different parts of it resonate with them. Like I wrote about my divorce. And that was the first time I wrote about my divorce was in that book, right? So, and people have come to me and said, man, that happened to me. I feel the same way. I just didn't know how to express it, right? So this is a way to express the pain, the trauma, the joys of our life as well. So I am really stoked to do that session. We did a session like that recently for incarcerated veterans who were suffering from PTSD and that kind of thing. And it really made an impact with them. So I'm hoping that they'll do the same at the conference.
I think it will. It's so powerful having different outlets than just medication, that is so often thrown at us. And that's part of the conference is showing how to thrive through art, through hobbies, through whatever alternatives we can use, than just popping a pill and going to talk to someone. Not that that's not important and sometimes essential, but I really appreciate the different outlets.
And I like about the conference that you have planned, and you've done a great job, you and your board, is that it does kind of have a multifaceted approach to the healing journey from MST, which I'm really stoked about that because it's really important because there is no cookie cutter approach to PTSD, to MST, to what we've experienced. There's no cookie cutter. You and I have healed in different ways, right? So that you, through this conference, are going to offer all these different variety of avenues, pathways, right? And that is so cool because, again, no cookie cutter approach. Each of us comes to this at a different time in our lives in a different way. And what works for me might not work for somebody else. But we want to show them this is what helped us. And then you have other speakers that are going to be there hosting other workshops, that kind of thing. And I think it's going to be great because whatever works for you, do it. But you won't know until you expose yourself to the different different types and again, the different avenues and different paths. So that's why the conference, I think, is good, not only for survivors, but for educational folks, for providers,
Mm-hmm.
for anybody who works kind of in the veteran space, so you can understand more about how long-term and the ramifications are for people who have suffered and endured MST. I mean, and
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not just for women.
right.
We've invited caregivers. We've got a husband that's thinking about coming because he wants to know how to help his wife better. And I think that's important because oftentimes we don't tell our spouses what happened to us, or why we act certain ways. There's so many facets of this conference. And when I started working on it, when we started creating it, I wanted to create a conference that would help me because, we go to all these conferences and so often it's death by PowerPoint and you sit in this hotel and bleh. So there's a lot that's going to happen and I'm really excited about it. We're going to have a concert. Creative Vets is coming. They're going to take a group of women and write a song. We've got a bra fitting and athletic company coming that's every woman gets to go home with a bra.
It's very important. That's what I'm saying. I really
sometimes that's important.
think this conference is going to make an impact across the nation for this in this space because it offers avenues and pathways, a varied one. And that is important because it's not a cookie cutter approach. What works for one does not necessarily work for another one. So I'm really excited about being able to associate with your organization, Shield of Sisters, and to be able to participate in this. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I mean, I know how hard it is, what keeping this inside does to you, how it impacts your chronic pain, your migraines, all those kind of things, GI, upper gastro issues, keeping this in for long periods of time can really impact your health. And I'm living proof that it has, but I'm also living proof that you can take what happened to you, you can own it and move forward and move beyond that. You'll never forget what happened to you, but you can live a more fuller life and be fulfilled and you can give back and help others. And that's what you and I are doing.
Absolutely. There's ways to thrive and not just get out of bed every day and not do anything but breathe, which some days that's okay.
Right.
You get
I
out of
actually
bed.
have a poem that says that. It says some days one breath at a time is as good as it gets.
Yep.
Right. So,
but then when you start thriving, it's so much better. We were just taping a thing a few minutes ago, Joe and I were, and I was talking about how the past 30 years has just been so
that's
burdensome.
important too,
But on the outside, I
call myself the queen of compartmentalization. No one knew the journey that I went through, the pain that I was suffering silently by myself. I never showed it. It never showed on my face, but it showed itself. It manifested itself in ways in my body, but I didn't make the connection till years later. Right. I mean, insomnia, chronic migraines, those kind of things. I didn't realize, chronic pain.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that a lot of this stemmed from what happened to me, years ago. I didn't know that. But I wasn't ready to talk about it, and so it just, everything lined up for me in late 2020 for me to finally acknowledge what happened to me and then be able to be in a position where I was ready to get help and move forward. And then, writing those other stories. That's another thing, as we talk about this and we talk to other sisters and brothers who've gone through this, it's important that we don't absorb their trauma because it'll trigger things for us. And that was something I had to learn as I wrote that book, because every story I heard, some of them were horrific. And it really impacted me. And I had to learn healthy ways of having to cope with what I heard and then be able to honor them and write their stories and be respectful.
And that's so important. I use my dog, my chickens, I color, I do all kinds of stuff after a retreat or after I've talked to somebody because it can get heavy. Our own story is heavy, but when you're carrying however many women we talk to or men, it gets heavier, and you have to be able to work through it and work with other people to compartmentalize that and not make it your own trauma. one of the things I'm excited about is the bonds that are going to come out of the conference that I see at every retreat we hold. You know, it's like little groups here and little groups here, and don't come into my group because, you know, this is my retreat group. So when they all get together at the conference, I'm so excited for them to be like, oh, we can have more people in our group, because there's so many of us out there. You know, there's over 9,000 in Wisconsin alone that have filed claims. And I hope that from across the nation, we start this voice that is just so loud that they can't ignore it anymore. That the change in the administration policies make a difference in how perpetrators are punished.
Well, the whole chain of
how
command and the prosecution cycle
survivors
change, right?
are
and thank goodness for that. But it's
taken care of.
unfortunate. It took a horrific murder like Vanessa Guillen's to even get the legislators to listen. And then her Latino family, and then her attorney, their family attorney was amazing. So yes, I think that's real important. One of the stories in the
and that's something going on in our military community right now, is a lot of Latina service members are being assaulted and killed and attacked. And I'm like, what is going on in our military that our Latina sisters
I think this is happening across the board,
being so
not
brutalized.
just one segment of the population, right? Maybe some of those stories are coming out, right? But everybody who serves deserves to be protected and deserves to use all their energy to do the job that they've been hired to do in the military, right? Imagine if we didn't have to be so guarded and use the energy to guard ourselves and protect ourselves in that manner. Imagine if we didn't have to do that. How much more effective we could be. And we're effective. I mean, there's a lot of women out there doing wonderful things in the military. And I'm real proud of my sisters out there who are working so hard. And they're getting some of the recognition that they deserve as well. So, but I think your conference is going to be great because the sisterhood is alive and well, right? And again, I've written about that too. That's important to me too. This community that we have, these bonds that we have, just because we served and we were women and we are women. And then once we start talking to each other, the experiences that we have shared, that even makes the bond stronger. And I hate to say this, but also sharing some of the same type of trauma makes our bond even that much more powerful. So how we use that bond and going forward in positive manners is what we really want to have an outcome from the conference, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to sit down at the conference. We have a panel with 2 or 3 authors that have written books besides yourself, which I'm excited to do that. I'm mostly excited to give you an award and just see you in person again. We saw each other in DC and got to share a meal and chat and get to know each other a little bit more. I feel like, I've known you for a lot longer than I have. So I'm just so excited and I'm so appreciative of you being part of this organization and the conference and sharing it as much as you have. It's like every day I get a text, I shared this with so-and-so. I shared
this. And then addiction recovery for some veterans, all people, but they have some programs for veterans. They're very interested because they have some MST clients. And so they want to come. So they're a national organization. So I'm also excited that they're going to come because when they show up, when providers show up, people in the mental health space, when they show up and they hear our stories and they get educated on the true lingering effects, lifelong of MST from experts, the psychologists that specialize, they're MST coordinators, when they hear those stories and hear how the treatment process is going, then they walk away more educated and they can do more informed care for the people that they're going to see, right? And then it won't be like, I never heard of MST. Well, now you do because you've read books on it, you've met people who've experienced it, you've met providers who treat it, so I think that's real important. So I think the conference, I'm excited because of all the pathways that you have put together.
Absolutely.
I'm also truly humbled and honored that you would give me this award and make it a legacy award to recognize people every year. That to me is just amazing. And I don't know, when you first told me about this, remember I told you I had no words, which is kind of hard for a writer, to have no words, but I was just so humbled into silence. I just, wow. But it's important because it is hard to speak up about what happened to us, harder to speak up publicly, harder to put it in writing, harder to stand in front of hundreds of people. You know what I mean? Because once you do this, you lose your privacy, you know. But so I gave up my privacy in late
It goes
2020,
away.
but I did
You're
it
like,
for a reason
sorry, I teared
because I
up.
felt like it was time for me to step up and use my platform to help other people. And that's what I've been doing the last few
Yeah.
years, you know, and so that's what you're doing, you know. So I like working with people who are positive, who are like-minded, who care, who want to do something, who want to make the world a better place, right? I think we should all earn our place on the planet. And so I think this conference is going to earn its place on the planet.
Absolutely. Well, I so appreciate it. I can't wait to see you again. And even though it's going to be cold in Wisconsin, we're going to have that luau and tropical music and food one night. So it's going to be awesome. And, you know, we're just so appreciative of you being part of this and bringing others with you. You know, we hope as many people listening join us. And, you know, there's still plenty of time to sign up. So
You're welcome.
I
Can't wait
thank
to
you,
see you in
Lisa, for your
Wisconsin. I'll bring
time.
sweaters.
And can't wait to hug your neck.
Thank you so much. And everybody out there, I just encourage you to
Yes,
attend.
bring sweaters.
You don't have to be a military member or a veteran to attend. Like I said, providers, I think anybody who works in the space with veterans and wants to help understand them and treat them better, I think it would help educate a lot of people. So,
I agree.
thank
And
you.
it's going to be awesome. So we just, if you want more information about our conference, make sure you go to our website, shieldofsisters.com, click on the Journey to Restoration
I'll be happy
link,
to see you there too.
and sign up, and we'll see you in January. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you to all the members of Shield of Sisters Founder Circle. Superbio, we appreciate your continued support.